all you beautiful people, and welcome to the first ever episode of O-Kei Podcast, the brand new J-Fashion news podcast. I'm Hayden.
And I'm Kamala. For our first episode, we'll be covering a variety of news and issues. Joining us today as our special guest for our first episode is Jordana from Mossbadger. Now, Mossbadger is a locally based lolita brand here in Chicago that specializes in handmade garments and accessories and custom-made prints.
Lots of the designs are based off of folklore, history, and magic. Since starting in 2011, Mossbadger has been all over the world for events and conventions and has finally brought the creator here to our studio. How's it going, Jordana?
It's going great, thank you.
Awesome. So thank you all so much for joining us on this first episode. We are so excited to do this. It is amazing. This is something we've been planning for months, and it's finally coming together.
And it's like my biggest dream to be on a podcast. Like, oh my gosh, I listen to podcasts all the time.
This is our brainchild, and we're so excited. So quick introduction about ourselves. My name is Hayden Lee. I use he, him pronouns. I've been into J-Fashion since I was in 8th grade. I do a lot of fairy K. I do some Lolita when I get the dresses and I raise the money for the dresses and I get money together for a coordinate. Y'all know how hard it can be.
Yeah.
I go to Columbia College, Chicago. I am a radio major, voiceover minor, and this is my pet project. So I really created this so we could bring together people in all forms of J-Fashion, from visual K to Lolita. I really want to bring in all types of people to this show so we can talk and get more insight on everything and really bring the whole J-Fashion community together into one.
So I'm Kamila, aka Hard Decora. A lot of people know me as like Hard Decora sometimes other than Kamila. Hard Decora is my brand. I do kind of like a kawaii badass all over print t-shirts and apparel and accessories. And when Hayden brought to me this project, I thought it was like the most amazing thing. Like I always wanted to do a podcast, but I kind of thought like, I don't know how I would ever approach this. Like I just didn't know like how I would even start on that sort of like project. But with Hayden's experience and taking the classes and everything and having the I guess the resources to do the project, I kind of thought like, oh man, this would be an amazing opportunity to latch on to. And
so we're definitely having a good time with this. So this is going to be about the order that we take things. We're going to cover a bunch of cool new kawaii things that are being released, things that are coming up. And then we're going to talk about some local topics and events that are going on in Chicago, where we are based. So first things first, Kawaii Apparel Spotlight, we like to call it. Galaxy is releasing a new rainbow sky cardigan.
It's beautiful.
It's so pretty. I am in love with Galaxy, and seeing this new cardigan, my heart is soaring.
And I love the way that it is shaped. It's not the normal cardigan. It goes to your knees, at least as it seems on the models, and it's just a beautiful, unique cardigan. A lot of it's the sky blue, and it has the rainbow motifs on it, and I'd be really excited to wear it if I got it.
Oh, yeah. Next up, we have AC/DC Rag is doing a collaboration with the Powerpuff Girls. They're releasing a bunch of cool new jackets. Those are super, super cool.
Yeah, and a lot of t-shirts and stuff. Unfortunately, it's the new Powerpuff Girls, which a lot of people don't enjoy. But the clothes look cute.
I'm not a huge fan myself, but the clothes are very, very cute.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also the Listen flavor. Like I know, like on their Facebook page, like every few hours is like new Listen flavor, new arrival. I thought I'd pick one of the things. I really like their ribbon frill shorts, and I like the lavender ones because I tend to wear a lot of pastels. But one of my favorite things about Listen Flavor is that they always come out with a light and a dark version of all of their designs. So you have like a lot to choose from. Even there's like a pair of yellow ones. And then a lot of people are going crazy about the Sanrio collaboration with Listen Flavor and choosing like which the light or the dark that they're going to go with. So I'm really excited about the outfits that are going to come from that.
I really want the yellow pair of shorts. I don't have enough yellow in my Fairy K wardrobe.
That's true. That's a forgotten color.
Yeah, not a lot of people remember, like, yellow can be combined with so many things. It's super doable. It's so good to be, like, an anchor color, and I really,
Right.
really love yellow with pastels. I think it works out super well.
Well, there's the Angelic Pretty Ribbonberry Bunny.
Which is so cute. It's going to be releasing today, actually, on the day of our recording.
Oh, yeah.
So we can mark that as like a super cool symbol. We are recording this on March 31st. So this will probably come out a week after. So y'all should keep an eye on that. See if you can get your reservations and get that flippin' berry bunny ribbon. Because, okay, I have a love for strawberries and berries in my Lolita prints. It is a guilty pleasure of mine. I will drop so much money on strawberries.
And, like, it just looks like you should wear it to, like, a picnic. Like, I just want to go on a picnic in these dresses.
Yes. Oh my god, it would look so good on the green grass background.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and then
that's
with
so
a
cute.
classic picnic basket.
Yes, like the Longaberger wooden baskets. That'd be so pretty.
Definitely.
Next up, AP's Holy Lantern in Navy is coming back by popular demand. I know a lot of people were flipping out about that they only had the wine color again, but don't worry, get that on reserve because it's gonna go so fast.
That's nice that they brought it back. A lot of times they just move on.
Yeah, it's like once
over.
it's out, it's gone. Like, sorry, too bad,
Yeah,
so
so
sad.
sad.
You know, that's how they do it a whole lot, but I'm super glad that they're bringing it back. Then we have a Baby the Star Shine Brights. Elizabeth Bride of the Death is releasing soon. Keep an eye on that.
Don't
Super
forget
cool
the
print.
the.
Don't forget the the.
Bride of the Death.
The death, not death, just the death. Okay, gotta get it right.
The Sexpot
Yeah.
Revenge's new spring and summer Visual K collection. Beautiful. It like makes me want to do Visual K.
If I was badass enough to do Visual K, I totally would. Like, I'm so enamored with it, and it's like, it's something that I would love to do, but I'm just way too, like, shy for
I
it.
just like the silhouettes and the shapes of Visual K. It's just like the baggier pants, but then it's got like the flowy kind of like jackets that happen.
The
and-
shredding.
Yeah, the shredding. It's very unique.
It would be so cool to, like, bring the Visual K silhouette into Fairy K. I think that would be super cool. We should try that.
Yeah. Like somehow.
All right, and then moving on, we're going to start covering some local topics. Coming up here in Chicago next Saturday is Tokidoki's pop-up shop at Rotofugi. I'm so excited. I'm taking a day off of work to do this because I'm in love with Tokidoki. I've always have been.
And I'm just like hoping with my hands and praying position that I don't get scheduled that day.
I'll probably do like a small little coverage from it. I'll be posting pictures on our Facebook page at least.
Definitely. And then if I get to go, I'll be doing the same. We'll both be there.
Yeah, we'll be like taking pictures. We'll be flipping out together, having a grand old time.
And then ASIN is having a lot of fashion news. I remember last year, Galaxy was there, Omocat was there, like just some different brands, some fashion brands that I've never seen at ASIN before. And so I'm really excited about this year. We're going to have designer Putumayo and Kira model Sakuraku Hoshina as guests this year.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I actually just bought Omocat's Pretty Boy sweater.
Ooh, nice.
I've been wanting it for a good year and a half, but I never had the money. And then I finally raised up enough money to drop $60 on it, and I'm so excited. It's coming in like a good week, but I'm like waiting with bated breath for my new sweater.
Oh, I can't wait to see like how you make an outfit out of it.
Oh yeah, I have like ideas already. I'm gonna pair it with like some blue shorts, some blue and pink tie-dyed leggings, and then probably my my clear jelly shoes.
Oh, okay.
So.
Do you have pink jelly shoes?
I
too?
don't yet.
Oh, okay.
I want pink jelly shoes.
You're just like speaking it into existence.
Yes, hopefully like I'll put those vibes out there, and maybe someone will send me one.
Ooh, wink, wink to a special listener out there.
But yeah, that's some super cool stuff that's going on. There has been a bit of a rumor for Angelic Pretty in the Lolita collective.
I've just been hearing that maybe Harajuku Hearts USA will be bringing stock and doing a fashion show at this year's ASIN, but nothing has been officially announced on the ASIN website, but keep a lookout for that. We'll be keeping a lookout for that, and if anything comes to fruition on that rumor, we will post it up on the page.
Yeah, totally. So a lot of all the stuff that we are talking about now, we're gonna keep updated with you guys on the Facebook page. We won't be able to update you with another podcast just because our next one isn't going to be released until May, but we'll definitely keep y'all updated at that.
And a special little tidbit of information, if you've heard of the show Kawaii International on NHK World, I am a new kawaii reporter
Yay!
for the show, so that's going to be awesome. And they gave me a report to go over the Chicago swap meet in April 15th specifically. So if you're in the Midwest area and you want to check that out, we have a Facebook event for that. And I'm just going to be there asking different people questions and taking a survey of the event in general. I think it's really great that Chicago and the Midwest are getting a little bit of attention, because I think a lot of the designers and shows from Japan, they kind of discount the Midwest. They kind of just go to the coast and don't know that people in the Midwest are very heavily involved in the J fashion community. So I agree. So honored to be able to showcase that.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to go, but I'm not sure because I'm gonna have to weigh my pros and cons of going to either to the Tokidoki pop-up.
Because those are both in April, and then
they're both on Saturdays.
Yeah, that takes 2 days.
So I do have work on both of those days, but I'll either be at one or the other or at both. Hopefully, I can go to both because I really want to go.
Well, I mean, it goes from 1 to 5. I don't know what your hours are.
Oh, I might be able to leave a little early. I work a 9 to 5, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it just takes up all the whole day.
Yeah, it takes the entire day, but hopefully I'll be able to at least go to one of those. I really, really, really want to go to the swap meet too. We're gonna be discussing some other things, like there's a new doll line inspired by J fashion called Shibajuku dolls, and we're gonna be talking about that. And also leave your opinions in the comments. Talk to us about this. We'd love to know what you guys think. I personally think that they're super cute, and while they might not be entirely accurate, I think it's an amazing way to really expand on J fashion in America.
Right. I think it could be a good way to introduce that style of dress to younger audiences, to revitalize, I guess, the groups,
and inspire them.
Yeah, inspire. Like, I think if I saw a doll like that, maybe I would have gotten into J fashion or even earlier than I did, just because even just watching anime, it doesn't necessarily mean that you get to see J fashion. You just see like, oh, okay, a magical girl outfit, but that's not necessarily like a J fashion outfit. Yeah. So
it's not really until you like go to conventions and see people in J fashion, ask them what it is, that you really discover it.
The only time I discovered it was from the comic book Gal. And so I just thought like, oh yeah, I want to be Garu and everything like that. So I think a doll is a really good idea, and I think it's a good business opportunity because no one's covering it. The only drawback I feel is that there's not enough variety in the doll line as far as like even some of the outfits or the ethnicities of the dolls. And so I'm really looking forward to how they decide to grow their brand in the future. I know they just closed out on a contest for people to submit drawings and designs of future outfits. And I saw some of the contestants using like girls of color to showcase the outfit design. So maybe, just through like being vocal or something, they'll definitely open up their designs. But I know that they're really small right now, so they only have like a few dolls out.
And that's a problem that like happens in the entirety of like doll creations, whether it's like typical Barbie dolls or if it's BJDs. People, you don't see a whole lot of dolls of color, and that comes from institutionalized racism that happens.
Yeah, and I think people take notice of that because when I look in the comments, I know some people say that, hey, like, where are any dolls of color? Like, they don't even have like anything that's like tan or like anything close to just it being a different colored doll. And a lot of people, I guess, took offense to those observations and just was like, oh, who cares? You're just going to play with it anyway, and it doesn't matter. But it really does. And
seeing representation is important for kids, especially. Even as just like a gay trans male, I can't find anything about gay trans males in media, and especially not feminine gay trans males, because there's a stigma against trans guys that you have to be like super masculine looking.
Right.
But like being in Fairy K, I'm not. And that doesn't mean my gender identity is disconnected from me. But seeing that kind of representation is super helpful for anyone. It helps give them like confidence and inspiration. So hopefully they'll be able to expand on that.
Oh yeah, that would be really awesome just to see different genders too. If there was a guy Shibajuku doll, I think that would be a really interesting outfit, because you never really get to see guys dressed in like kind of like feminine inspired clothing in a doll.
You don't see a whole lot of male dolls at all.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of sad.
Hopefully they'll be able to open that up. Next, so this has been talked about everywhere right now. We're going to talk about it later in our show with Jordana. There has been so many magazines closing down in Japan, like Keta and GLB, Gothic Lolita Bible, for those of you who are new to the fashion, and Fruits are either being suspended or going to internet. They're not being in print they're not printing anymore. We're going to be talking about that. What are your thoughts, Kamila?
When I first saw it, like, I really disliked the name of the article that was for the explaining the Fruits closure. It definitely put like a lot of alarm bells on, and it's probably clickbaity, but like the Harajuku is dead, and Fruits is like closing down because the publisher can't find anyone to take photography of, and then I just thought like, oh my gosh, like this thing that I feel like I finally started like wearing and getting into about 2 or 3 years ago. It's ending already. Is it over? And the article you read will have you thinking that. I think it was just alarmist in a way. I eventually got to read the Tokyo Fashion's take on the Fruits closure, and it definitely calmed me down a bit because it presented more of a full picture with facts about like it being a digital age.
Yeah, completely. Like, I completely agree. You know, our world is changing so fast that everyone's struggling to keep up with how much we're progressing. And that includes magazines. Magazines are just going out of print, and a lot of them are switching over to digital. And that's just how our world is working right now. And a lot of things in Harajuku especially, it's changing. There is a lot of influx of tourists coming into the neighborhood, but you know, that's interest in the fashion, and while these tourists are probably not very considerate to the people who are in the fashion, it does create different things. It's not necessarily good or bad, it's just different. A lot of people in Harajuku are either whether you're a fashion kid or if you're a business, are moving out of Harajuku because it's turning into a bit of a tourist trap. Overhead for their businesses might be too high, and it's just becoming a bit more watered down. It's not like it hasn't changed or it hasn't like it's gone completely. Right, it's just diluted. People are moving out of Harajuku.
Then there's also the influence of fast fashions, you know, that are kind
H&M,
of
Forever 21.
Yeah, and so that's like, and you already see these like brands. Like I just saw at Forever 21 some little bauble earrings that look like something that I can find on Etsy that someone made. You know, like it's like a clear circle, and then they have little pom-poms that are like pastel and stuff in it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can see one of like my friends for specifically Fairy K making one of these. And now it's in Forever 21 being sold. And it's kind of like, you know, it's like the whole fast fashion aspect is kind of like taking away from the smaller businesses. They cost a lot less, and people are attracted to that. and also changing the ideal of, oh, you paid so much for that. Like, it's kind of looked down upon a little bit more now to pay so much for things now. I mean, I could go on and on about how fast fashion is, like, kind of terrible.
And, you know, the best way you guys can help prevent the continual... I don't want it to seem like this is, like, a horrible thing that's happening, but it definitely shows how much we need, as a community, need to support businesses. So I urge all of you guys to buy things from 6% other shops in Harajuku or shops that have moved out of Harajuku, like Milklim. Milklim is strictly online now on Tokyo Otaku Mode and on their Facebook page. So support them, y'all. Like, if you want to continue to see the growth of Harajuku fashion and the evolution of Harajuku fashion with the next generation starting to grow up and starting to come into their own, y'all need to, like, support the things that you really want to enjoy.
Yeah, and I definitely think, like, the magazines going to digital, I think that's, like, a separate issue, because there's certain things that those magazines weren't doing to keep up with the times or to increase their profits. With Fruits magazine, there was hardly any sort of advertisements in those magazines in order for it to I guess, get the revenue that usually magazines get.
Which is nice for consumers, but as a business tactic, it's just not doable.
Right. And then they wanted to catch street snaps in real time and, like, kind of spontaneously, paying those man hours, I guess, to go and search around the city instead of making announcements. So that people would gather in a local meeting place to go and take these pictures. That takes time and that takes money, and it's not
part of the dilution of Harajuku.
Right. And so it's going to make it harder for you to make some sort of profit and to really stay sustainable in the future. Kira, they have so many models that are involved with their magazine. They could have I guess, made stuff more digital sooner. They could have done, like, YouTube videos, you know, that went along with their magazines promoting it.
And, you know, a lot of their models are online. There was that possibility. It's admirable that they wanted to keep traditional, but it's just not doable in this era.
Right. So, and the same thing with Gothic Lolita Bible. Everything's online. Now you can see all of these brands and their updates online, and people wearing Lolita online. So it's kind of, like, inconceivable of, like, almost why the magazine would be, I guess, needed. But then again, it's like we have other magazines like the Chinese Girlism, which is kind of their answer to Gothic Lolita Bible. And so with these international markets making their own books so that they can, you know, have their own language in there, and seeing models that reflect them as well, that can cut into their margins.
But I think that's also, like, not cutting into their margins is a good thing, but the fact that J-fashion culture is expanding to other countries. There are zines opening up in California, in the US, Canada.
UK.
Yeah, all this stuff is opening up for new people as we get into the internet age. And I think we all just have to roll with the times and learn how to support our local people. And now that we've discussed the current news, we're going to take it back to Jordana for the interview. We have some questions for you. First one is, are you a lifestyler Lolita or just a casual event Lolita?
So I love Lolita, but I don't wear it every day. I'm not a lifestyler. Probably for two reasons. First of all, I just like too many things, and I like to be able to wear different styles. And I'm really into, my style's kind of transitioning. I was wearing a lot of more gothic inspired, like maybe Strega, like witch style fashion, a lot of layers, and like charcoal gray. And I just like, oh wait, you know, I could wear colors. There are colors besides gray and black. So I'm sort of going back to a style I did maybe when I first started in Lolita, which is otome influenced, like a lot of vintage and colorful, like wacky prints and stuff. And the other reason I don't wear a Lolita every day is it's a lot of effort.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
And
totally.
I am like a little bit lazy sometimes. You just want to sort of roll out and not have,
Yeah.
15 accessories. And not that you can't do, I do casual Lolita sometimes, but when you wear Lolita to meetups and events, it sort of becomes more event driven and it's hard to do casual.
Mhm.
Like I tend
Yeah.
to be like, oh, I have to put on a veil and a crown and,
Yeah.
all the,
And
I
then
guess
you're
the whole
expecting to see people who are going to
Yeah.
appreciate the details.
Yeah, so I've found in my Lolita personal style that I'm like trying to relearn how to do casual Lolita.
Yeah, I totally get that.
My first Lolita outfit together for my
Ooh.
wedding. And so
Oh,
it'd be
yeah.
interesting to know, like, what are your favorite places to
Oh,
shop?
that's gonna be beautiful. Like I know not every Lolita wears Lolita to get married in, but it's kind of an awesome option because it's like surprisingly affordable compared to a lot of
Yes.
To a
weddings.
wedding dress?
And,
Yeah.
and I'm very short and petite, so I feel like wedding dresses, like the Western ones, like really would just swallow me and just too big to me. So I think the lengths of Lolita dresses would be perfect.
One of my friends actually got married in Lolita, and I suppose she might be considered a Lolita lifestyler, but she wears her wedding dress every year for her anniversary.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh man, that's an idea.
So I guess my favorite places to shop, I do a lot of online shopping.
As one in J Fashion does.
Yeah. my favorite probably brand is Haenuli, which is a Korean brand.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Haenuli, and she's just an awesome person, and I want to support her, but also her stuff is awesome, and she makes a size that fits me because as a plus size person, it can be hard sometimes to find options
I feel it.
that work. So
Yeah.
I love to support Haenuli. I also love a Japanese brand called Enchantilly. It used to be called Chantilly, but
Okay, I think I've
yeah,
heard of
yeah,
Chantilly.
yeah, I think she changed her name because I think that if you just like Googled Chantilly, there's so many things because it's like a lace and it's like a it's like a
Oh.
baking thing, like a fondant.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, but her stuff is awesome, and she does a lot of cat prints, which is close to my heart.
Yeah, you do a lot of cat stuff too.
Yeah, I love cats. And I love Atelier Puro. They have an online shop and they sell their own brand and they sell a lot of other brands, which I think we're going to talk about later.
We will.
And I love to buy from them. And then there's a brand from Finland called Cloudberry Lady. And she also sells through Atelier Puro, and she makes hats, and she also does some garments, and I love her stuff, and I've met her. So again, it's like when you get involved in J fashion as like a maker and you meet all these other people who have their brands and they're your friends and you want to always support your friends.
Right, yeah.
And then I also love H Naoto, which
Yeah.
has so many things besides Lolita. Like even just for casual wear, I really love some of Naoto's brands. And
Don't they have like some visual K-esque
visual
style
they
stuff?
have a little bit of everything, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's really into steampunk, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
funny
yeah,
to me because
I've seen like some of his videos.
yeah. And he's come to local conventions a couple times, so I've also gotten to meet him, and he's like super nice.
Super cool.
And if you're Facebook friends with him, he always wishes you a happy birthday
oh,
on
that's
your
so
birthday.
sweet.
And because of the time difference, he's usually like the first one. So it's like
that's
every time I'm like,
amazing.
oh, I love you.
When people are so involved with their community,
Yeah.
it like warms my heart.
And it's nice to know that when you meet the designers, that they're really nice. Like, a lot of people
Yeah.
might feel like, oh no, what if they're like snooty, or what if they don't want to spend time with me? But a lot of designers and illustrators, they're nicer than you
They
think.
are. Yeah, I've been lucky to be able to meet several designers from going to conventions, and they've been guests, and every time I've gotten to meet them, it's so rewarding and so like awesome to meet these people who I respect and admire, and then they're actually nice, and it's just like the first time. So I think it was at Anime Central. It was a while ago now, but Naoto came to the con and had a booth, and I knew that Naoto made these petticoats that you could also wear as a skirt, but they were really great petticoats. And that they went fairly large, so I'm stretching this thing out, trying to see if it's gonna fit me. And this man comes up, and he's just like, he doesn't speak English, and he's like stretching it out and like nodding his head, like yes. And I was like, who is this man, and why is he? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the designer. And like he was just like motioning like, you should buy this, and he's like, yes. And I was like, well, now I have to.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it would fit me, but I bought it anyway, and then it did fit me, and that's like the petticoat I wear all the time to this day.
I had a similar experience when I went to Anime Los Angeles. Bodyline was there, and there was a guy like at the booth in Lolita, and it was my first time like ever getting a Lolita dress. I really, really wanted one. Like, I got a grab bag for really cheap, tried it on, it was too small. I came back and I said, hey, I just bought this, like, you saw me, this is way too small, can I trade it in for something else? And like, he like understood me. He goes, here, look at these. So I take a look, and he goes, holds one up, and he's like, I think this one will fit you because it stretches a lot. Tried it on, worked well. It wasn't until 3 months later that I realized it was the creator of Bodyline.
Oh, Mr. Yan?
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, that's who I was. That was the guy in the dress.
Yeah, you have a story now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I also really love to buy from Lolita Collective, who, you know, I feel like they also sell my stuff. So it's sort of like, well, and I'm friends with the owner.
You.
Right.
And
so
but I didn't know it was you.
So it's like, of course I love Lolita Collective, because I love Emma, but they have just awesome stuff, and they go to a lot of conventions, and it's funny because sometimes I'll be helping her at the convention, and then I'm also shopping while I'm, you know, trying to help her.
Yeah.
And then as far as I love accessories, which is, you know, I'm a plus size person who loves fashion, so of course I love accessories because they always fit. And I love a brand that I'm really into right now is Milk Ribbon out of Germany. She just had a release today, actually, of these brooches that are like laser cut wood. And there's one that's like a little, it's funny because it's a picture of a rosette, and like I make rosettes, so I thought that was funny, but it says most embarrassing behavior on it, like Misako.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they're awesome. I also love Mossbadger, who's out of like the Philadelphia area, East Coast. I like feel a kinship with the East Coast Lolitas because I'm from Philadelphia originally.
Nice.
So even though I live here, and I always go to, when I can, go to East Coast stuff and hang out with like my New York City girls. And I also really like Voodoo Dolly. She makes crowns and like jewelry with eyes on it, which is cool because like I have a print of jewelry with eyes on it, so like that works out pretty well. And then I just, you know, I'm like a lot of Lolitas. I love Angelic Pretty. Even though I don't fit into a lot of it, you know, I love their bags. Like their stupid bags, like stuffed animals. Boxes of pancake
I
mix.
agree.
Yeah.
I bought the little twin stars unicorn plushie because I wanted the bag, but they didn't have the bag. But the unicorn plush was only $10, and I was like, I gotta get this. And I was like pulling it up in class, like taking my credit card out in class, like typing in my info, and like I'm determined to make it into my own bag. So I totally get like the stupid plushie obsession purses. It's so addicting.
And then like there's a lot of brands that like I more look to as inspiration. So it's not really my favorite place to shop, but it's my favorite place to kind of ogle and lust. So I love Julieta Justine, who's famous for the painting prints, which, you know, inspired me a lot. And speaking of designers who I've gotten to meet and was just like, you are the best. And she was so nice and so down to earth and friendly. And Emily Temple Cute and Jane Marple, which are more like Otome brands than Lolita brands. But like honestly, if all the Otome brands, if I fit that stuff, I'd probably just do that instead of Lolita, to be honest. But that's okay.
If it works, it works.
And I love I Do Declare, who's another East Coast designer who does a lot of historical influenced stuff, and whenever I see one of her shows, I'm like literally crying because it's so beautiful,
it's, like,
and I'm just like, oh my goodness,
so
you
much.
made that, and it's so amazing. So those are my favorite places.
Nice. So would you be willing to talk about your J fashion experience as a person of color?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I don't know that I have like a ton of experience specifically as a person of color in Lolita or in J fashion, because it's like I feel like I mean, this sounds weird, like maybe I'll think about this and rephrase it, but I feel like I'm already kind of a unicorn for so many reasons. It's just like another thing to pile on top of the, like, you know, oh, you're different. But the thing that I thought of first was that when I was at RuffleCon, like a Lolita came up to me and she was like, do you identify as Black? And it was kind of funny because like I didn't know where she was going with that, but like I just, my head started swirling with like, you know, the history of my life and all like the weirdness of like, you know, being like a light skin, and I never really considered myself biracial, but like mixed maybe, you know, and just being like, yes. Like, yeah, I do consider, you know, identify as Black, but I also identify as mixed, and I identify, you know, whatever. But I was like, yes.
Multiple identities.
Yeah, and the whole code switching thing, and like how, which is kind of funny because I guess in J fashion you're doing that anyway. But but like, you know, I was like, yes, and then she's like, because I wanted to say like, I'm really proud of you.
Oh, that's
and
sweet.
I just was like, immediate tear up, because anyone who knows me, like like anything makes me cry like immediately. Like it's just hilarious how quickly you can see it. It's like watery right now, you know. So I was just like, yes, thank you, you know. And I'm just like, you know, oh my goodness. But yeah, so I guess that's my main experience.
That's super sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of the reason I wear Lolita specifically, or J fashion, but I mostly wear Lolita. Honestly, it's weird. Like, people stare at me for like reasons that I don't know, and it's like, you know, sometimes they're like, you know, what are you? You know, like, which of your parents is Black? And it's like, both. I mean, like, you know, it's like, it's not that, like, because it's fine. I understand curiosity, and like, I have no problem with that. But you can tell when they just have like an idea in their head and they want to know if they're right, and they don't actually care.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's just sort of like, well, which one of your parents? I bet that it's your dad, you know. And it's like, no, you're like, you don't really care. So
I don't really understand why people feel the need to guess. That's just like, I don't know, that just makes it feel like they're not like viewing you as a person.
Right, exactly.
They're just viewing you as parts.
Yeah, I can somewhat relate. I'm mixed. My mom is Hispanic. Being like white passing, no one really expects me to like have a Hispanic mom, and all the time I would like say yeah, I'm Hispanic, and people were like, no, you're not, you're white. I'm like, what? Like, I'm pretty sure I know who my parents are, at least to a degree. Like, I can look at my parents and I know I'm not adopted, so I'm pretty sure I'm Hispanic. And as being like a trans person, you get a lot of people being like, so are you a boy or a girl? And I'm like, I know what you're asking, and that's bull.
Right.
Like, just back off. Like, you don't need to know any of these answers.
Like, I'm a person.
Like, what's in my pants should not, like, bother you. Thankfully, as, like, being in the J fashion community, I haven't gotten any of that. Most people, I just correct pronouns, and it's totally fine. So hopefully it'll stay that way, and hopefully the good experiences will keep happening.
Oh, so one of the reasons I wear Lolita is that people stare at me a lot, and I think one of the reasons is because they can't tell what race I am, and they're trying to figure it out. And, you know, also just as like a person of size, like, you know, you deal with a lot when you're in public, and Lolita feels kind of like armor in a way.
Yes.
You know?
I feel that too with like J fashion just being like, I know people are looking at me, but I'm controlling why they're looking at me.
I'm giving you something to look at.
Yeah.
And even if that's not really what you're looking at, I can pretend. And it's just sort of like, you know, that like aggressive feminine is just sort of like, you know, this wall that I'm putting up. Like, so I don't know. I think that also factors into my experience as a person of color in J fashion. And then also because I wear wigs a lot with Lolita, like I'm not right now, but it's funny how people assume that I'm part Asian and they like argue with me about it.
Wow.
Like,
okay.
Or like, but you're Filipino. Like, I'm not, but I mean, it doesn't matter. But like, it's funny, you know, like, or my favorite was someone I had just met at a meetup, and she was saying something kind of unfortunate, and she was like, no offense. Like,
no offense,
I'm not even the race that you just insulted, but I am still offended.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god.
Jeez.
The saying no offense, like they have control over your offense.
The magic button.
So a lot of your items look very accurate to the Victorian era, not just the Lolita basis of Victoria clothing, including prints. What inspired you to veer from that norm?
So a lot of my design process is based on the print more than, I guess, the structure, for lack of a better word. Like, a lot of Lolita is super detailed with the ruffles and layers and, you know, gewgaws and buttons and furbelows. And I kind of like a simple dress, but with like maybe a crazy print. So I guess that my Victorian inspiration is more about the prints, because like I don't want to be making all those ruffles all day. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it. I love to wear it, you know, but I also like a simple thing that I can dress down for every day. And I like really showing off, like, look at this painting of all these cats. Isn't it amazing? Why would I cover that up with like a bunch of other stuff? But I guess my inspiration is just I really like artwork and history and magic and symbolism, and I really like Bruegel paintings and the crazy things that are going on in them, and I just want to put that on a dress so people can wear it. And you can be like, what is that on your dress? That looks like a weird monster with like a butt. And I'm like, yeah. And it's like this painting from like the 1600s. And it's awesome.
And then they're like,
yeah.
oh.
So you really want to like be minimalistic so that you can really show and focus on the artwork that's being like pulled for these dresses.
Yeah, I really like being a print designer. Like if like it's funny because when I started in Lolita, it was like 2007, and there were definitely prints, but it was still like maybe on the newer end of things. And like the old school Lolita was just, you know, either maybe a simple, you know, a solid color with lace. I remember when polka dots were controversial in Lolita, and like nobody had printed tights and printed socks. It was a lot plainer. And like honestly, if Lolita had stayed like that, I don't know if I would have gotten into it, because I am all about the prints.
Yeah.
And I am all about the excuse to put like cats or all over something.
I agree completely. If I can put like 50 strawberries in my hair, I am more than happy to do that.
And you know, I dress in decora, so I like to overdo everything.
A lot of brands from America don't get a whole lot of international coverage, whether they're just like smaller brands that, you know, a lot of people don't know about. So how did you get about going to Amsterdam and retailing in Atelier?
Yeah, Piero. Well,
Piero.
actually, I shouldn't even correct you because my French pronunciation is like non-existent. But I think it's Piero or something like that. You know, like the clown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know French.
Me neither. I have no opinion on this.
I love French, but I learned Spanish in school, and French was just so hard to pronounce. My French teacher had a Southern American accent, and so it was like this extra layer of wrong on top of it. So, but yeah, I went to Amsterdam, which was last year. There's events put on by a group called Street Fashion Europe, which I believe grew out of a British-based group called the Tea Party Club, who's having their 10th anniversary this year.
Oh,
And
yeah, I just
so-
looked up that group.
Yeah, and Street Fashion Europe, I think, has been running for maybe like 5 or 6 years, and their events have been in a different city every year. Like they just had one in Barcelona this month, actually, which unfortunately I didn't get to go to, but I did go to Amsterdam last year for an event called Under the Sea, and it was amazing. Like if you're a Lolita and you're interested in the fashion and you can afford to go to a European event, it's totally worth it, because it just was like a different perspective on everything, and it was just like so interesting to see, like, and to meet all these Lolitas that I knew from online, you know, and to finally get to see them in person. But yeah, it was amazing. All I can say is it was amazing.
Yeah, what's the community like there? Because I've never been.
I think that, there are I think it depends on the city. Like some communities are smaller and some are larger. It was funny because one of my friends made a Facebook post today about being a European Lolita and having this like sort of like funny stereotype about how American Lolitas are. And I was like, well, you know, we all think the European Lolitas have every meetup in a chateau and, you know, you've like exquisite French pastries. But, you know, it depends on the city. So I think in some places, like London's community is like absolutely enormous because it's a huge city. And I think in some other places, maybe they don't have as big of a community, but like, you know, Europe is sort of the way Europe is laid out. It's maybe easier to get to different cities and even different countries compared to here in our giant country.
So the unity of the community is like really strong.
Yeah, I think so. But you know, there's so many different ones, and I met kind of a smattering of people from different places. I met some of the French Lolitas and some of the Dutch Lolitas, and so yeah, and I think that maybe it's because they have these like beautiful backdrops. It's like there's like a sort of elegance
I
to
completely
it, you know,
agree.
like because I know I'm joking, but like you could literally go to a castle and like have a meetup.
No, for real.
So it's like, you know, versus here where we're like, you know, rolling up to, I don't know, we're sitting in the park or
Yeah.
Right.
Take pictures in front of the giant
bean.
Hello Kitty
Yeah.
in LA.
We're just trying to scrounge any sort of like
Anything
gothic
that could
atmosphere.
So the story of how I got into Puro. So I mentioned a brand from Finland, Cloudberry Lady, the designer of which is named Tulia, and I met her at RuffleCon 2 years ago, and she was selling. I believe she was the first like Western designer to sell at Puro, like from Finland. And so I was like, how did you get that done? Like, please tell me your secrets. And it was basically like, you know, she was just lucky enough to meet the owners at a convention, I believe. Or maybe she went there, but she was lucky enough to meet and show her work, and they liked it. So voila.
Wow, just lucky coincidences.
Yeah, so thankfully, you know, so this is another thing. I have to give a lot of credit to Emma of the Lolita Collective, because she has been such a force of inspiration and dedication towards helping me with my brand, and a lot of what I've done is really from her hard work. And she was the one who got to go to Japan and sort of present my work to her. And so that was how, basically we asked and they liked my stuff. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
And I know Voodoo Dolly is now selling there as well.
Oh, good.
So I feel like maybe I helped open a door. Tulia opened the door, and then I walked to the door, but I held the door.
yeah, like just each person that keeps selling overseas, it's like...
And it's
grows.
amazing to I've had a bunch of friends go, and they're like, I went to La Ferret, I don't know if it's La Ferret or La Ferret, and I saw your dress, and it was just like, maybe one day I'll get to go and see my dress. But it's still awesome.
You get to see your own work displayed.
Yeah, because
It's
it's
seeing
really
a
the
friend.
dream, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what specific cultures inspire your patterns?
So I guess a lot of my print designs, especially lately, are kind of based on witchcraft and the occult and magic, and I don't even know why I'm so inspired by that. I mean, I went in my history of fashion interest and subculture or whatever. I guess when I was a teenager, I was pretty goth. And then I went through that phase. And then in college, I was a mod, 60s, scooters and stuff.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because I think you can see the goth influence more than the mod influence. But I'm obsessed with England and British stuff. And I think that partially comes out of my mod years. But yeah, I explored, I was a little baby Wiccan, a lot of goths are, and just my mom was really into occult stuff for a while, so we had a lot of books around the house about sigils and runes and stuff.
Oh, that's really great. Did your mom approve of your fashion explorations?
I mean, she didn't really, but I think when I was a teenager, I was too timid to really go nuts with anything. I remember I dyed my hair the shade of burgundy that everyone had, and I had a Smith's t-shirt and I had Doc Martens, and that was kind of it. I didn't really get, nuts with hair color. Well,
it wasn't enough to scare her.
Yeah, I guess my hair was blue in college. So let me take that back. I did get nuts with hair color, but but I kept it pretty chill otherwise. I really was influenced by I wore a lot of vintage clothes, and I did a lot of thrifting, and I wore Fluvogs, and she was really encouraged me to buy Fluvogs because she said that if people saw how expensive my shoes were, they would know I wasn't thrifting because I was poor. Because my mother is if you've seen the show Keeping Up Appearances, the British comedy, that's my mom. My mom is Hyacinth Bouquet.
Totally.
Not Bucket, Bouquet. She's very proper and kind of old fashioned. So she doesn't, I mean, at this point I'm old enough that she's kind of whatever, but she equates it to her Red Hat Club. She thought Lolita was weird until I actually brought her to a tea, and she said, "Oh, it makes more sense when there's a bunch of you. It's not just one strange person. It's a
lot of strange people.
There's a lot of you, so it's clearly on purpose and not just a strange person,
She's
but
okay, I mean, not saying Lolitas are strange people, but it's
some
we
Lolitas
know
are strange people.
you get that in every culture, every
Yeah.
subculture, every little genre. But it's it's not we're ignorant of what we're doing. We know we look different.
Right.
But I think, like any parent, she just wants me to be safe and doesn't want me to, have somebody running after me down the street look at this weirdo,
or get a job.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but yeah, she definitely was exploring some stuff when I was a kid. So I was, she, even now, like, I was talking about, like, coming up with an idea for a print, and she was like, have you done tarot cards yet? And I'm like, yeah, I have. But she was like, well, did you do these tarot cards? Like, did you do the Rider-Waite tarot, or did you do a different tarot? And I was just like, okay, this is a weird conversation
But
to have with my
obviously,
mom.
your mom's interest influenced you
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you being able to explore that.
my mom has always like encouraged exploration and of different interests and like researching, and so I can say that because of her, like I probably have a lot of maybe esoteric interests. I also was like a Middle Ages nerd as a kid. My fourth grade teacher was in the Society for Creative Anachronism, which is a group that like does reenactments and like researches medieval and maybe early
That's so
Renaissance
cool.
stuff. So like in the fourth grade, they took us to, it was a Quaker school in Philadelphia, and our class trip in fourth grade was to New York City.
Wow.
Yeah, the fifth grade class trip was to Mexico.
Oh my gosh.
But
that
I
is
was only in that school for
amazing.
fourth grade because it was really expensive. My parents
Yeah, I
were like,
bet.
oh wait, we got to pay for college eventually. So
Oh my gosh.
but yes, they took us to the Cloisters, which is a museum in New York that the building is made up of various historical medieval buildings that they brought over from Europe and reconstructed. And one of the main things, or to me anyway, in the Cloisters is the unicorn tapestries.
Oh, I haven't seen them.
And it's like, I feel like if you saw it, you'd be like, oh, that. Like, it's well known. Like, they put it on, like, rugs and, like, wall hangings and stuff.
Got
It's
it.
like, the main, there's several of them, but the main one is, like, a unicorn in a little, like, fence. And there's this sort of floral background. And one of the prints that I'm doing this year is I think I'm finally going to make a dress out of that, because ever since I was a small child, I was like, I wish I could wear that on a dress.
Oh,
And I'm,
that sounds really
trying to
interesting.
make dreams come true here. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna be interested. I love unicorns. Like
Yeah.
the fantasy life is me. All right. What do you think about this whole death of Harajuku thing that's going on recently?
I think it's going to be okay. And everyone needs to, just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Like, yeah, things are changing, but that's how life works. So
Yeah.
I don't think that it's the same. It's not going to be how it was, and that can be
We're
sad.
acting like we're like 60 years old, and it's just like, no, these
Yeah.
it's ending.
I mean, I'm probably older than like the average Lolita. Like, I like to play this game of like, how old do I look? Because I'm not gonna say how old I am, but I'm older than I look, right? So I feel like, I mean, not to be like, you youngins don't know, but I feel like I
Right.
do have some perspective in that, like, this is what happens to subculture fashions and street fashions. They change. This is what happens to anything, you
Yeah.
know? There's two things I think going on, one of which is that the fashion in Japan is changing. I mean, just because there are trends and styles and people's tastes change, and I think we're going through a period now where, for various reasons, including maybe tourism, people are just interested in things that maybe aren't so flashy right now, and the people who are interested in that maybe aren't so public right now because maybe they're sick of tourists putting their cameras in their faces, and so it's still going on. It's not dead. It's just maybe it's the looks are changing, and maybe the places that people are wearing it is changing. And then as far as like, it's unfortunate that the Gothic and Lolita Bible and Kara magazine are ending, but I think that, print is changing. It's not dying, but it's changing. And so
Right.
Kara's going online, and I think that a lot of, like, I mean, I don't buy magazines like I used to, like J Fashion or any magazines, everything is online, and it sucks that you don't have this hardcover thing to look at, but, there are other magazines. And I think, honestly, the most encouraging thing about all this is that everyone's first reaction is like, oh no. But then a lot of people's second reaction is like, what can I do to make this thing that I am going to miss? Like, more people are making, like, podcasts, for example,
Yeah.
or, I saw...
Zines.
Yeah, zines. There's a lot of people on YouTube who are making, regular videos about the fashion, and like I follow Lovely Lore's channel,
Right.
and she just made a video saying that she's going to start doing like a streaming series where she's going to sort of like go through the magazine and chat like she used to with her friends in person, and she's going to do that as a streaming thing, so that to kind of revive that nostalgic feeling of like looking through the magazine with your friends, because like the magazine is not publishing more, but we still have the ones that exist. And, like, I have
Right.
Kara's from before I even knew what Lolita was. I have Kara's from, like, the late 90s and the early 2000s because
Wow.
that
Nice.
was
Treasures.
yeah, that was, I mean, I bought the first Bible before I even planned to wear Lolita. Like, I was really into dolls, and I was like, oh, weird clothes to put my dolls in. Like, I never in a million years thought I was going to wear any of that, you know? But, like, I used to buy Japanese fashion magazines because at the time, the stuff that was going on in Japan just seemed so much more cool than what was going on here. So I would go to Tower Records, and I'd buy these, it was called Kerouac.
Kerouac.
And then
That's
it changed to
interesting.
Kira, and so I used to buy those and like pour over them. And it's funny because I still have a bunch of them, and I've gone back now, and I'm like, is there any Lolita in here? And there's like not really because they're like too early. But yeah, I mean things change, and we just have to get used to the change. And I think if you're sad about these things going away, like I think it's productive to think about, you know, how can you give back to the community, whether that's producing a zine or a podcast or a video.
Or supporting things that are already existing.
Yes, supporting your local creators, your local designers, artists is definitely something that can really help.
And supporting the Japanese brands too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, because, there are stores that have been closing. And
Milklim.
yeah, and so it's like if you love something, you know, you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
you know, money doesn't grow on trees. So if you love a brand, you should try to support it as much as you can.
Yeah, I agree. Especially how like Harajuku is like bringing in more tourists. Whatever brands are like renting out those businesses can raise their rent. So if tourism goes up, their overhead goes up.
And the Olympics is coming too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
So
going to be a big deal.
if those local brands don't get that revenue that they need, they have to move out. That's why a lot of them have been moving to Shibuya or other places in Japan or just strictly online, like Tokyo Otaku Mode.
And those are things that happen in America too, like New York. It's just the rent is getting so high. So a lot of stores and galleries are like moving to different parts of the city. So I don't think it's something that's going to end the fashion at all, but I definitely think people need to support brands, and especially if you want those brands to come to America, like you want a store to open up where you live, then, you know, keep supporting the brand. Like,
You have to show that there's an interest. Because if not, they have no choice but to shut down. But it's definitely evolving, and I'm sure things are going to be all right. Everyone just
Yeah.
needs to calm down, take a chill pill.
I'm really interested how it's going to change. I know that international sales are going up for at least like Lolita brands, and so I think that's going to change the way that they I don't know, maybe distribute their work or market their work. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, especially in Western culture. Mori was already kind of going out of style when it came over to America. So, like, we're a little bit behind, but that also helps keeping businesses in business,
Yeah.
which is good for them. And it's good for us because we get into all the good stuff too.
Where can we find Mossbadger? How can we support you?
So my stuff is available at the Lolita Collective, both online and when they travel to conventions, and also at Atelier Pierrot in Japan, in La Forêt. I will be making some new accessories. I'm retiring the Ouija boards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good while it lasted, but I think I need to find a new thing, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Everybody's doing the Ouija boards.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's funny because there's a Alice in the Pirates print, and it has Ouija boards on it, and I guess the designer was at a convention, and they asked her how she was inspired to do that in the print, and she said something about she didn't know what Ouija boards were, and she saw
Oh,
Western Lolitas
no.
wearing them, and I was like,
Oh.
did I help make this happen? Like, I mean, I'm way too. I would never like try to take credit for that. Like, everyone who knows me is like, you know, I kind of have like imposter syndrome or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm like, but then I was like, but I mean, I did make all those Ouija boards. Like,
Yeah, you
I
just
think-
read them. I think you maybe like contributed to the idea of it because I know a lot of people started making like the necklaces and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. Like everyone started like
It got
getting into
really
that.
big really fast with
Yeah.
in a lot of different subcultures.
sometimes have good timing of like jumping onto something right when it's like in the moment. Like, it's funny because I'm usually late. I'm usually like just too late. I'm like, I was gonna,
Well,
but I think this time I was lucky and I got in there on time. And I was like,
Great.
hey, we're all doing
Right.
this witch stuff. Let me throw some Ouija boards in there. But yeah, I'm gonna come out with some new stuff soon. I'm gonna be traveling, hopefully more. I haven't planned everything out yet, but I'm gonna be hitting up some conventions. And yeah, that's where you can find my stuff. I'm on Facebook, and my website is mossbadger.com. And it's Mossbadger, like the plant and the animal. And it's badgers because I'm a Hufflepuff.
Nice.
Oh.
And because
I'm there with you.
Yeah, and I love The Wind in the Willows. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's a book full of weird little Victorian animals that wear clothes and go on adventures.
Oh, that sounds like you.
And one of my favorite characters in there is a badger. So that was why I named it Mossbadger. But so I can be found online at mossbadger.com and Mossbadger on Facebook, and check me out. Come say
Awesome.
hi.
We'll also be
Yay.
putting a link in the description to Jordana's website. Y'all can connect through Facebook, through Lolita Collective, and through her website. So hit her up, support our local artists. That'd be amazing of you guys.
Woo, do it, guys.
And this concludes our first ever episode of O-Kei Podcast. Join us next month and we'll have more news for you, more updates, and a new special guest. See y'all next time.
Okay.